There's a moment, right after you close a trade, win or lose, it doesn't matter. Your heart is still racing, your eyes are still glued to the charts, and then a thought appears. Maybe there's another setup. You scroll, you zoom in, you convince yourself, and before you even realize it, you're in another trade. Not because it's clear, not because it fits your system, but because you feel like you need to be in the market. This is where most traders lose everything, not in one big mistake, but in 1,000 small, impulsive decisions. And what you're about to understand is that overtrading is not a strategy problem. It's not a knowledge problem. It's a psychological trap. And until you see it clearly, you will keep feeding it. Most traders believe they overtrade because they want more profit, but that's not the truth. If it were about profit, you would wait patiently for the best setups. You would protect your capital. You would think long term. But overtrading doesn't feel like patience. It feels like urgency. It feels like pressure. It feels like you're missing something. And that's the real problem. Overtrading is not driven by opportunity. It is driven by discomfort. The discomfort of not being in control. The discomfort of uncertainty. The discomfort of doing nothing. Most traders are not trading the market. They are trading their emotions, and the market becomes their escape. But here's what you must understand. Every time you take a trade that doesn't align with your edge, you are reinforcing a behavior, and that behavior becomes your identity. Let me explain something most traders never truly accept. The market does not reward activity. It rewards discipline. But your mind is not wired for discipline. It is wired for certainty. It wants to know what will happen next. It wants to feel in control. And when you're not in a trade, you feel exposed. Because uncertainty becomes real. So what do? You take another trade, not because it's right, but because it removes that uncomfortable feeling, even if it's temporary. This is where overtrading begins. It's not about greed. It's about emotional relief. Think about it. Why do traders take random trades after a loss? Because they want to get the money back? No. They want to remove the feeling of being wrong. Why do traders jump back in after a win? Because they want more profit? No. They want to maintain the feeling of being right. So whether you win or lose, if you are not mentally grounded, you will trade again and again and again until discipline disappears completely. The first lesson you must understand is that every trade is independent, completely independent. The last trade has nothing to do with the next one, but your mind doesn't believe this. It tries to connect outcomes. Win, so you feel invincible. Lose, so you feel the need to recover. And this illusion of connection is what drives overtrading. You must break it. You must see each trade as just one event in a long series of events, nothing more. The second lesson, you must accept uncertainty completely, not intellectually, but emotionally. Because if you truly accepted uncertainty, you would not feel the need to force trades. You would not chase setups. You would not sit in front of the charts for hours, trying to make something happen. You would simply wait, and waiting would feel normal, not painful, not boring, but necessary. The third lesson, you are not paid for how much you trade. You are paid for how well you execute your edge. This is where most traders get it wrong. They think more trades equal more opportunity. But in reality, more trades often mean more mistakes, more emotional decisions, more inconsistency. Consistency does not come from frequency. It comes from selectivity. The fourth lesson. Discipline is not about forcing yourself to stop. It's about changing what you believe is true.
if you believe you need to trade often to succeed.
You will overtrade. If you believe sitting out means missing out, you will overtrade. But if you truly understand that your edge only appears occasionally, then waiting becomes logical and discipline becomes natural. The fifth lesson: you must detach from the need to be right, because overtrading is often a reaction to the fear of being wrong. You take another trade to prove something, to yourself, to the market, but the market doesn't care. And every time you try to prove something, you lose objectivity. And when you lose objectivity, you lose your edge. Imagine this. You wake up. You analyze the market. There is no clear setup, but you keep watching. 30 minutes pass. 1 hour. 2 hours. Now you start seeing things that weren't there before. A small pattern, a weak signal, and you convince yourself, this might work. So you enter. The trade goes nowhere. You close it. Then you immediately look for another. By the end of the day, you've taken 5 trades. None of them were part of your plan, and you don't even realize it because it felt normal. Or this. You take a clean trade, perfect setup, you win, confidence rises, you feel sharp, and then you take another trade, not as clean, but good enough. You lose. Now your mind shifts. You want to protect your profits, so you take another trade and another until the day ends, not with discipline, but with emotional exhaustion. Or this. You lose one trade, then another. Now frustration builds. You feel like the market is against you, so you increase your activity. You try to fix the situation, but every trade becomes worse, more impulsive, more forced, until the loss is no longer about the market. It's about your inability to stop. There is a moment where everything changes, not in the market, but inside you. It's when you stop seeing trading as something you have to do and start seeing it as something you choose to do. Only when conditions are right, only when your edge is present, nothing else matters. Not boredom, not impatience, not the urge to act. You begin to understand that your job is not to trade. Your job is to protect your mental state, because once your mind is clear, execution becomes simple. And when execution is simple, consistency becomes possible. From this point forward, you must create boundaries, not with the market, but with yourself. Decide how many trades you are allowed to take in a day and respect it, not as a rule, but as protection, because every extra trade is an opportunity for emotional interference. Before every trade, pause. Ask yourself one question. Is this my edge or my emotion? Be honest, because your future depends on that answer. After every trade, step away, even if it's just for a few minutes. Break the cycle, because overtrading thrives on continuous engagement. The longer you stay in front of the charts, the weaker your discipline becomes. And most importantly, redefine what a successful day looks like. Not profit, not number of trades, but execution. If you followed your plan, it's a successful day, even if you made nothing, even if you lost, because consistency is built on behavior, not outcomes. At the end of the day, overtrading is not your enemy. It is a signal that something inside you is not aligned. It's showing you where you seek control, where you fear uncertainty, where you need validation. And if you're willing to see it, truly see it, then it becomes your greatest teacher. Because the moment you stop reacting, the moment you stop forcing, the moment you become comfortable doing nothing, that's when everything changes. That's when you stop chasing the market and start letting the market come to you. That's when discipline is no longer a struggle, but a natural state. And that's when trading finally becomes simple, not easy, but simple. And in that simplicity, you will find consistency. This content is inspired by the teachings of Mark Douglas.